All right, man, we're live here. Uh, um, I did a show yesterday, and you know what? I was rather disappointed in it, and I don't want to continue with that kind of behavior and attitude, so not going to have it. So, freedom and independence. I don't think we are born independent. We are born dependent, and I think that for the most part, we are dependent for the rest of our lives. And we're not logical human beings. We are social human beings. And at this moment, we want to be social, but we also want to be ourselves and our own human selves with our own inquisitive ways. And it's kind of sad right now because if you don't follow in one way or another, people will try to deny you and hurt you for being your true self and your own self. And that's what I see as of now. And I wonder if, Joey, if you have a perspective on what I just said. And I'm waiting for you to. When you unmute mute your mic, I will. Yes.
Oh,
Hi. Yeah.
we are Transparency and Merit. That was Brian. I'm Joe. And wow, wow, we have an opportunity. And the opportunity is to not really have yourself associated with any particular group. You don't need to have a group. But I think people need to kind of slow down, slow their roll on before you can join a group, even. I always have the same perspective of how I approach my neighbors. And as the old saying goes, love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. But you cannot love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. And sometimes it takes a lifetime for people to find themselves. And I think that the more efforts people do, and I feel the same way about groups. You can't join a group unless you've fed that part of your mind, and you may want to learn, but you also have to keep in mind that you could be entering a group where there are already infiltrators, where there are people in there who aren't out for your best good. So to become part of a group, I still feel the same way. You must know yourself. And for that reason, I stay out of groups because I never know when I might be vulnerable to bad information. And I like to vet information out. And sometimes that information leads me away from different perspectives that I might have accepted programming from a group type of atmosphere. That doesn't mean to not want to share your information with groups. That's something totally different. But as far as being in a group, and it's kind of like going out and playing basketball. And what somebody told me one time is, you don't play basketball to get in shape. You get in shape to play basketball. And I've used kind of the euphemism also that basketball is life, because I've loved basketball since I was very young, and at every stage of my life, except for one, I was able to adjust really well. The time I didn't adjust for it and I used basketball as a way to get in shape, I tore up my knees. And so I never went back to it unless I was able to do certain things on my own, independent of basketball. So, whatever that entails. So, I guess people who eat a lot can also, kind of have the same perspective. You can't just drop every single thing that's bad for you. You got it all at once. What you want to do is you want to, work your way, kind of like how you've done it, Brian. When I first met you, you put away probably 2 full-liter bottles of soda every day. They were everywhere, all over your house. And I couldn't believe it. And I said, I told you then, if you cut just this one thing out, it'll open a rabbit hole, because then once you conquer that one thing, you know you can conquer whatever else it is you want to cut out from your diet. It just may take time. And so I don't know. You do that now. You don't even hardly ever. I don't think I've seen you drink a soda in a very long time. And so, you know, we all make changes. But I think part of that is, like in your case, it's part of you loving yourself, wanting to know yourself. What if you're unhappy with how you felt or how you performed or how whatever it is, you had enough faith in yourself and self-governance to know that that was the bad path. That was a path that was going to lead you to probably having your feet amputated. Just to make an exaggeration or a joke, but you know, seriously, like you understood that in that. I don't know. I hope that opened up a rabbit hole for you, and in a positive way. And so that's just. I hope that sort of helps with this where we're going here on the 4th of July, 2022. Hello, Darren, and hello, High Ridge Estate. I still don't know what that means. The High Ridge Estates. No, this show did not happen yet. This is real. This is real time. JP left the cookie group last. Did I?
You know, I wanted to go further, further down this path of self-improvement. Self-improvement is important. And I also wanted to say Promise, who I met from Chaotic Truth, has joined me. And maybe I'll send in a link some other time. But the thing of it is, we are social human beings, but self-improvement is good. But what good is self-improvement without other human beings? From someone who's lost both of his parents, and you've lost your mother recently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what would life even be worth living if all of the human beings, if you were the last person on Earth, what would be worth it then? I mean, we are social creatures, and we do live for to be communal to an extent. I mean, I guess to a degree, I have all the creature comforts, but I am lonely. But it is difficult because I don't want to give up who I am and my thought process. But I also, I do. I mean, I do desire company, and I certainly probably desire agreement with people. And I'd like to change minds because, of course, human beings are social. But there is a time when, you can't change a person's mind, and you have to keep moving, and you have to leave that type. But it is difficult because we are social, and sometimes we're so social that we will give in to the tribe, and that's happened many times before. We're friend. You go along with friends to do things that you probably know in your heart that are wrong, and I've done that too. But I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to stop being who I am, my authentic self, and my inquisitive nature and my human nature. I don't want to surrender that. But I also, have preference not to be alone. And I don't know if the preference not to be alone and changing is account. Like I
Well,
don't know.
let me butt in here. Master of Rope says, being the last surviving human won't be a problem. I could socialize with my kitty, not human scum. Meow meow. Okay. I get that. I think that we're at a. Just remember, you can't hop on the internet if you're the last person and hop on Discord and start chatting with people, it might get boring. Here, the one thing, okay, so there's a couple things, and I've been saying this a lot lately because I've been hearing this a lot lately, and that is people asked me, I kind of put these ideas together. People have often asked me about my, like, why do I think ideas that we've been programmed to learn, such as the idea of space and what it looks like, even though none of us have been there, and we kind of have to take a leap of faith, and if we want to accept that, we believe it, and if we don't accept it, then and we really continue to look further into what we're given by some of these so-called space agencies and stuff, you find there's a lot of holes. And so I've come to a lot of conclusion based on the holes. And so, but what I've found is a lot of people feel insignificant, tiny, minute, useless, and the rigged voting systems don't help that, because not only do people feel helpless, and they also feel their vote it doesn't mean anything. There's all these areas, there's all these ways in which us men, women are meant to feel insignificant, and to me, this is a friggin' shame. And all I have to do, usually, out of about 400 people I've tested this on, when I ask people, what is your biological origin, out of 400 people, nobody answered the biological origin of species as fertilization. Nobody. 400 people. That's a massive, massive study. Like if I write a peer-reviewed article on that, it would be very interesting. And that was just my experience. There are people who do know that, but in my case, it's been 3 years now of asking this question, and the significance of that is that it's very, very much the complete antithesis of what science tells us space is. And this whole idea of a vacuum in outer space, space is a vacuum, which violates a law of thermodynamics, like doesn't make sense. And people still accept these things blindly. What that also tells me is they're not understanding that if they go inside and they know how biology is operating and how it works and how we came to be and what our origins of species is, it creates a whole pathway of exploration. It opens a whole world of it demonstrates to me, in my mind, how much there is to actually explore in a real way, and with real consequence. And people I know who are, this is unbelievable to me, but I know people who have sat out at their telescopes diligently for years, and they have found stuff. They have found things. They have discovered certain things that we weren't taught, that aren't anywhere, and what hadn't been discovered by some famous scientist or even unfamous scientist. It was just some dude in his backyard with a telescope observing every night, and he found some interesting things, and he showed it, and this guy got famous literally almost overnight when some major media outlets picked up on this, and he had to kind of cope with that like becoming kind of famous over something kind of nerdy. But I don't know, it's and I think he would agree too. It's just it just goes to show just how much there is to explore now, that maybe people have better vision to see it, because sometimes it's right in front of our face and we don't see it, we don't identify it. And also the idea that every single person, we all start off with a divine spark, which has been shown in science and demonstrated, and that each and every one of us has a non-replicable sequence of DNA. We all have our own DNA signature, and if that doesn't say anything, it should. It should say that you are at least in some way different from other people. Now, socially and culturally, you and me, we might like the same movies or share a liking of bolognese, but when you look at the big, a much bigger picture, that everybody does have a unique signature, it really makes me think that we're a lot bigger than what we've been told, and I think that's by design, and I think it's been very damaging. But I think a lot more people are finally able to open their eyes, maybe for the first time.
I guess for me, I perhaps see things in a more narrow scope, and I always call people narrow-minded and myopic, and perhaps to you I am, but I for one see my country. I see, and I do look at the other world, and I make comparisons to the world on how they live and how they don't live. But I primarily I see my nation. I see the West primarily, and I see the West, and I see my city. I see my state. I see my city, and I see the block in which I live, the people in front of me, and the individuals that I interact with, both in person and online. And my own personal problem, I think, right now is I have the urge to engage with people that are obviously hyperbolic and very like to me, very myopic and cannot see past their own nose. And I tend to engage with them and thinking that through my ego, thinking that I can change this person, and basically knowing, not being aware at that time of human nature, which it does take time for human beings to change if they ever change, and there's a lot of cognitive dissonance and other things like that. But that is the one thing in which I struggle with regards to my ego and my belief that I have found some certain truth. Now, I found certain truths for me, but that doesn't mean that they're going to with regards to other people. And one of the things that I want to promote is anger management, and basically that people that are prone to anger are not to be trusted to respect your rights as a human being, and basically to be a good friend, and to be a noble companion. One must have control over their anger and their upsetness. And I've said this before. I've never come across someone who is not prone to anger, who could be trusted to do what was morally right, and be trusted to respect your feelings and your humanity. I don't know if you have a response to that, Joe, but that's the way that I am seeing things as of now. And again, I see us. I am a news junkie and a political junkie, and I see us as really fractured in this nation, and I see us really fractured in the world right now. And there's almost no room for moderation, and that to me is rather sad. And
One thing, one thing that's impossible to do is to fracture everybody individually. So groups may be compromised. Okay. Well, as I've said before, if everybody really starts self-governing and recognizing that there is no representation when we need it most, the Federal Reserve proved that. They proved that in broad daylight to us this year with when Jay Powell, the federal chair, board leader, president guy, came out. He got caught, and I don't know if I explained this already on the show, but I'm going to say it again. Jay Powell was caught red-handed buying up debt instruments. And the reason that was significant is because they were the same debt instruments that the Federal Reserve was buying up. And
what do you think is going to happen to that man?
Well, let me tell you what happened to that man. He got called out, and you would think that somebody from Congress would have stepped up. But you know what Jay Powell did as the president of the Federal Reserve Board? He requested an investigation on himself. And tell me in what system that's the checks and balances that are going to get things done. And what happened was they found that he did buy the same instruments that the Federal Reserve was already buying. It was, and any other person would have gone straight to jail.
Again, here's what I learned from living in my house.
Uh-huh.
Under certain circumstances, might doesn't make right, but it makes the rules, whether you like it or not. And that
isn't representation, Brian. That is not representation when you have a whole class of people who are going to suffer from these sort of consequences.
That may be true, but truth doesn't care about what's right or wrong. Truth is truth.
Then why buy into it? Why buy into left or a right paradigm if you could self-govern? If they're not going to govern, you need to govern yourself, is my point.
Well, but by nature, I need protection. I have been on the receiving end of being jumped, being assaulted, having my stuff stolen. And if you didn't have the numbers, you were weak. On a very basic and primal level, for survival, sometimes you need the group if you're going to win the conflict, and maybe you need some things you need to compromise if you're going to win.
I will stand by this motto that the pen will always be mightier than the sword in the end. You may fight to the death, but is that actually helping things, or is that actually selling out generations to follow?
My pen but that's true. But my pen wants a group behind me. If you don't have anybody behind you, you're weak. If you don't have the money and the power behind you, you're weak.
If other people are discussing truth, and they are going to the biggest forums in the world, and their leaders specifically, and these letters are being read, that is a sign of change. That is a symbol of change. But what do you need help from?
Again, there are times when it doesn't matter when I need, like at this particular time, I probably need help from nobody. But if I get under harm, if I get canceled, I do want people behind me to back me up in my fight. If I'm ever wronged,
isn't that up to you to build those relationships? So when something does happen to you, they take notice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, that's self-governing.
Yeah, self-governing human beings to take notice. At some point, though, there is a part of me, and it might be irrational, but I do want a group behind me to fight and defend myself from enemies. And enemies can be around, and they can be quite vicious. And I do want that protection by nature, in my primal nature.
Okay, but if you're resorting to violence without having exhausted the opportunity to solve things diplomatically, if you're engaging in an unwinnable war, how are you helping other
What
than
do you?
fueling a fire that needs to be extinguished? It doesn't need remedies, it needs cure. You're stepping out of this is why I say I'm a pacifist. This is why I am a pacifist, for this very reason, that violence is a very, very last resort. But don't get it twisted. If I'm I have every right in the world to defend myself and will.
My opinion is, sometimes you stand your ground and fight. Sometimes you flee as a human being and as a man. And it is, like it is good to have human contact with human beings. Like I said, we are social by nature, and I see a very malicious group within this nation that is dangerous, that is vicious.
And they have attacked me economically.
There you go. I mean, and because you've asked questions and you've refused, and yeah, they have hurt you economically. And let's be honest here, they could perhaps even starve you out. If you don't have skill, or you have limited skill, and then they take that limited skill away and they say we don't want you working here anymore, and perhaps we can even starve you out. Well, they've done for you. I mean, you could be done for. So when does survival come into play? And they are making demands upon all of us, and they are threatening our survival.
And that's exactly what high gas prices are right now, and inflation are to people in lower middle class and lower middle class have don't have a fighting chance. They're going to have to become they're going to have to be dependent on somebody like the government or whoever, unless they recognize what skill they bring to the table. And you have to be able to produce with your own hands and mind.
So
The new Mr. Magoo's 4th of July is great, with Brian as Mr. Magoo.
Now, do you remember Mr. Magoo, Joey? And do you see any resemblance there?
I see squinting going on. Squinting.
Well, that might be true. I'm a squinter. Mr.
That's why I leave my camera off. My facial expressions get in the way. And my nose.
That might be very true. But like I said, by nature, I yearn for protection, and I yearn for some form of freedom along with social contact with human beings. And I think there's like one mean or two. What it feels like today is there are a few like leaders within groups and within companies that are making demands that aren't popular, but they've infiltrated them, and they are making for social policy within this country, and they are making us do things that don't feel right by nature. There are things that you don't feel right by nature, and that I don't feel right by nature. You've complained plenty about like wearing a mask all over the state of California. They have to get food and supplies. You got to go in to wear a mask, and if you refuse, then you got to go further down. And what if no place? What if no place, doesn't allow you in without a mask? Well, your beliefs are taken for granted.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. There's business owners in my neighborhood that, even though the mandates have been dropped, I will not be shopping there, and it's too bad on them. They had an opportunity to handle things differently, and to me, they showed their cards, and I won't be spending money there.
Yeah,
And there's several places.
I want to say this is largely an economic war right now, because, and that's what they've declared on us. If you disobey them, they will punish you. If you question them, they will punish you. It's I must you must obey me, and if you ask any questions, you can be punished. And it's the most authoritarian thing that I've ever seen.
What does this mean? What does this mean, Darren? Senior Executive Services. Look at do you know what he's talking about? Brian, do you know what he's talking about?
No, I don't, but I certainly will look that up. But again, I'm primarily here for like trying to better my life and not be prone to anger as I have been, and also think before I act. Kind of, perhaps be a life kind of chess player. You know, I remember when I played chess. One of the things that chess taught me was if I got too eager on the attack, I wasn't I left myself open uh, for defense. And when I took boxing, one of the things I realized is sometimes if you're too eager on the attack, you leave yourself open for a counterpunch. So it's always good to have good offense as well as defense, and how to basically maneuver those two things by basically presenting an attack but not getting attacked back, and that's the balance that I'm trying to engage within the society right now. I'm trying to wage a successful attack without being attacked myself, and that that right there lies in the difficulty as of now. And Joe, are you still here? Did you hear anything that I've been saying?
Yeah, it's certainly about knowledge. I mean that's what we a lot of people have been burned looking at into going down certain paths, and but when something has the ring of truth to it, you kind of stick to it. You kind of put more effort into it. So, but I think at the end of the day, most people would just like to have more information. Transparency is the key. Also, merit would be a nice thing as well.
And you cannot have merit
Mhm.
without transparency. You need transparency before you can have merit. And there are a lot of large institutions out there that do not have transparency. Therefore, they cannot have merit. And a lot of things that were done this past year of 2020 were done without transparency. It was complete authoritarianism, and in the likes of which I have never seen. And that is why Americans today are very angry, because they've been made to do things and they've been censored like never before.
Mhm.
And I think people, look, people will fall in line if they believe that that's the right thing to do. Uh, there are people that will take shots and they'll take vitamins if they believe that that is the best course of action. But they're not just going to shut up and take it. And if you don't shut up and take it, I'm gonna punish you. That relegates you to a child, and even children shouldn't be treated in that manner. It relegates you to being an abused child, and that's how we're being treated, like abused children. And a lot of us are lashing out, and we're very angry, and we see the hypocrisy, and we see the unfairness. and we are just striving to, keep our head up, but it's very difficult in this day and age. And it's very difficult to have a conversation with people who shut you down and are so egocentric and self-centered.
You know,
And it does kind of bother me. And
yeah, well,
you know,
yeah, this is ego gone wild.
it certainly is, and perhaps on many sides where ego has gone wild. And the truth
It's
is,
it's mainly because of the glamorization that media gives to people who do stupid things. Um, you know, as tame as it was, stupid human tricks. I think was a Dave Letterman. Um, you know, I guess a skit or a segment that he would do, and look where it's gone from pretty benign sort of things to the Jackass crew and to parkour and whatever else. I mean, it's just reached a level of idiocracy.
you
I don't
know
know if
what?
you have you
Yeah,
ever seen that movie, by the way?
yes, I have. But I want to get back to because this just struck in my head.
Mhm.
Joe, my view on self-defense has absolutely changed with regards to the fact that you're just to fight and take a beating, even if you lose. I used to believe that up until a few,
I've seen
maybe,
it happen up as recently as a year or two ago.
and I do not believe that anymore.
Mhm.
I believe that there is no dishonor in running away from a fight that you know you're going to lose, and if you are going to defend yourself, you can use any means that are necessary to fend off an attack. And you are under no obligation to meet a person's rules who is intending to do you physical harm and beat you. There is no honor, there is no dishonor in running away, and there's no dishonor in using whatever form of technique, arms, or whatever it is to fend off an attack. Again, only a slave lets someone strike them and not want to respond in the most vicious manner. It is such a violation. And I have views about certain forms of pacifism where people are taking beatings and saying they're going to follow Martin Luther King. If you strike me or are going to do me harm, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to fight you back. If I cannot fight you back, I'm going to flee. Because I'm only a slave, in my opinion, takes a beating, and that is something I don't think I will ever do. I think that if someone is allowed to beat me, I don't think I'd want under that kind of condition. And if someone is allowed to beat, like if I were in a state and someone beat me up and didn't get prosecuted for it, I'd probably leave. I wouldn't want to live in a place where I am assaulted and no one is punished. Now, I don't say I equal Malcolm X. I just say I equal me.
There is a saying that says that dogs smell fear, and I wonder how much of what you're saying is coming in origin from a place of fear.
Um, I don't believe this fear is in my head. I mean, what I'm seeing again are, and what I've observed is that there are people out there that will try to economically destroy you if you speak out against them, and in some ways do you physical harm.
Again, I think this is a fear-based, trauma-focused sort of situation, and if we're able to see truth and see that there is more to explore and to see just how significant we are on an individual basis, man for man, woman for woman. Once that happens, once we realize we each have, there are exceptions, of course, in everything, but for the most part, everybody has the ability to self-govern. Everybody has uh, the ability, or at least should take the time to have enough introspection to go inside and find out just what it is they can produce, what they can feel comfortable doing. Anything else is a bastardization of nature.
I want to say that people should be. I am aware of my fear, and
Mhm.
I'm also aware of my anger. My emotions inform me, and fear and anger can be like fire. And fire can either be a tool or it can consume you and everything around you. And I'm
One
speaking. I'm
and
yeah. I'm speaking of my fear because I'm speaking of what I am aware of and what I observe. And by the way, I have been attacked, and people have doxed me because I spoke my mind. And I certainly resent that. I resent someone trying to do me harm because I spoke my mind. And it is extremely wrong what they did.
dude, it happened to me. It happened to me in such a bold, disgusting manner, and it was all about people who disagree with me, and that's what this all stemmed from, and maybe even not understanding where where I was coming from, and I know for a fact that. This all stemmed from my point of view because I've never had a finger laid on me in such a way, but it happened, man. So I feel that, and I don't want to live in a world where I have to fear that ever. And part of me, that I think that it happening to me released me in a way because I'm not walking around angry. I'm walking around uh, sort of sympathetic for the types that do this shit. But I'm also I have my eyes wide open because there's a path. There's a pathway that's open for me to walk down, and there are things to really focus in, hone in on, and explore in a way that you know, through a set of eyes that maybe has not seen it this way before, and whatever that is, that could be how I handle relationships, or how I go about finding money, or how I, whatever it is. There's been a light that's been turned on, and I didn't think it could happen to me, and any other uh, ridiculous notion I may have had disappeared when I got attacked.
It may never happen to you, but you always want to strive to be as prepared as you can for an eventuality of that happening. And you always, to me, being aware, being afraid to a degree and fear helps keep you aware. Where if you enter into a situation that is dangerous, you will not act foolish. There are human bears out there and human wolves and bears and beasts out there that will do you harm, and you have to be aware of them. You have to be aware of the human nature that some people have, that they will do you harm, and you have to be careful to whom you talk to, and whom you express yourself to, because there are wolves out there, and some of them are wolves in sheep's clothing. But when they, when they remove their sheep's clothing, they will attack you, and they will attack you in the worst and most vicious ways.
Master of Rope says the fear Brian feels is created by the right wing grifters he follows.
That's his opinion.
Tim Pool is a fearmonger.
Tim Pool says a lot of truth about certain things.
Isn't that what good controlled opposition does?
Again, I don't know what he has said that you disagree with, but I mean, I agree with a lot of what he says, and a lot of these people are unhinged lunatics.
We were on the brink of civil war, not but 2 months ago or 6 months ago, but with Tim Pool. That was Tim Pool's words, not mine.
Well, I mean, again, you'd have to look into it, and again,
I
he didn't.
I
Okay, he didn't.
listened
Okay,
to
first
it.
of all,
That's
I
what
think
I'm saying.
Joe, I think we can
I
do a whole.
listened to it.
I think we can do a whole. I wouldn't mind doing an entire show about Tim Pool and his views because I think it would be rather interesting, and it. It I mean, I see I see certain. I mean, I don't know what I've disagreed with him yet on. I agree with a lot of him, a lot of the things that he says, and there is a group in power.
You know who's really good at that? The one of the best controlled oppositions. Usually are the ones you remember. But what's that guy's name?
Stefan Molyneux.
No, the fat dude.
Oh, yeah. Now I can't even remember his name. Both of our brains are going, and that's the one
Our
thing.
brains just blew out. But
God, now we're going, and we can't even remember the man's
oh,
name. God, he's a fat guy. The frogs will be gay. That the guy. Alex Jones.
thank you,
Yeah,
uh,
and again,
Alex Jones.
I
Now let me just say, Alex Jones came on the scene. Um, you know, after a massive, one of the most earth-changing events to happen to humankind, is when he kind of came into view, and he spoke to a lot of people about um, a lot of other interesting things that were happening in the world. But when he changed his views on a couple of things, um, it was clear as day that he was nothing more than controlled opposition, but he was a damn artist at it. So
I consider Alex Jones to be very hyperbolic.
he is, but and that's what got him where he is. But he was diving into to topics that have a lot of truth in them.
And I consider Alex Jones to be much more hyperbolic than Tim Pool.
That's absolutely ridiculous. All you need to do is watch Tim Pool. You could take out any 10-minute clip you want, and you will find fear mongering in it. Go ahead. I challenge you to do it. Send me a 10-minute clip of any Tim Pool video, and I'm going to try to prove to you that there will be fear mongering in that
You know
10
what?
minutes.
That you know what? That is a setup. I think we could do that on perhaps on Thursday,
Yes.
and I will we'll go about Tim Pool and what your opinion is on Tim Pool and my opinion is on Tim Pool because I believe that Tim Pool is the ultimate. To me, he's one of the most red-pilled individuals out there, and
He
I
is,
just believe that.
he is controlled opposition, and he is part of the mainstream media.
So be it. I mean, as someone, Joey, as someone who's followed news and media for years, uh,
Mhm.
I see what's going on. I mean,
I know.
from my observation on what's going on,
Mhm.
uh, I see the unhinged lunatics out there, and I see
It's
hyperbolic behavior, and he basically exposes that.
Brian. It's one thing to be able to de- uh, what am I trying to say? It's one thing to be able to rebut and have a debate on topics. It's a totally another thing to fully understand exactly how the news cycle is created. And if you don't know how the news cycle comes about, if you don't know all the details of where our news comes from, then you're already starting off from a fallacy. You're starting off from a mirage, something that is not true. You're starting off as a victim of propaganda.
Okay, you know what? Here's the deal. We'll do a Tim Pool show,
Hmm.
and you will tell me what is propaganda. Maybe we'll do that Tuesday or Thursday.
Sure,
We will do that because
absolutely.
I,
It
I
happens
want to
every show
know.
of his.
I want to know what you think is propaganda about his show,
Or
and
fearmonger.
what if and what a fearmonger he is. Because
Hmm.
I see him and Andy No talking about reality and truth, about the unhinged lunatics. Some of them have been in my street, on my block, and I've seen them talk. They have chants. These people are insane, and they have garnered the the power of the establishment, and
The
that is
people
very frightening. That is
the
very
people that are
frightening.
gathering and protesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Joey, you saw those people firsthand. You saw the hyperbolic. You saw the fanaticism. You saw all of that.
Right. Right. These are the Walking Dead.
That's
These are
correct.
people. These are people who accept what they see on the news. They are that. These are people who accept what depending on which rag they read, which rag they follow online, wherever they're getting their news. NPR. NPR to me must be defunded. Get rid of NPR. It is such a ridiculous display of leftism and diarrhea from a source that is highly trusted by uh, a lot of you know, I would say that sort of not quite middle age, but upper class, um, middle upper class, um, have put a lot of trust and faith into NPR, and it's so massively destructive.
Joe, I think we need to. I think we'll table this, but I certainly believe that we are being pulled in two directions in this country, and I'll expound on that later. But I would like to just kind of table it for now, unless you have anything else to add. Uh, yeah, I disagree with you on that. I disagree with you on that. I do not believe that Tim Pool is a fearmonger. I think, uh, again, he hasn't said anything that I fundamentally disagree with, but that's me. That is me. The same thing with Andy No.
I called it out to you earlier in the year when he was
Joe, Joe,
yelling that we were in danger of a civil war. And I said that
the,
was fear mongering.
the city of Portland is under siege in a lot of ways. Mayor Ted Wheeler his life has been threatened, and he has been punched in the face. I've never, in my lifetime, I've never seen behavior like this, and the establishment is supporting it, in my opinion. Is there anything else to add, man? Oh, my head's getting hot.
I think he was that was all an act. I think that was all completely fabricated nonsense, and the media completely is compliant, and they are just as much, if not more, at fault because they are probably the ones that set the whole thing up.
So Hyra just says because he's telling you shit you want to hear. Well, who do you listen to? High Ridge. Who do you listen to, Scott? Who do you listen to?
He listens to NPR. Oh man, he's so up to date. He knows all the NPR news, man.
Maybe he is. Who knows? Who knows? But give me an example. Besides, he said, we are closing to civil war. There's a lot of, what the truth is. There is a lot of civil strife within this country. There are a lot of people who are afraid to speak in this country for fear of being harmed.
Again, there's nothing to fear. That is the biggest problem. The actual promotion of fear is what keeps fear such a powerful tool.
Fear keeps you alive. Fear keeps you alive, and so does anger keep you alive as well. It keeps you from being abused. That's my opinion. Anything else before we call it a day?
Yes, yeah, it's the most ridiculous comment I've ever heard. Everybody, have a good evening. Enjoy the fireworks tonight. Don't be an actor looking for equity. Just govern yourself. There you go. That's my 2 cents.
Always listen into my Christian, Muslim, atheist, gay, straight, noble people out there. Keep listening.
By the way,
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the actors equity or actors equity?
Joey, I've heard of all that.
Yes. Do you know when that was created?
In the 30s.
Same year as the Federal Reserve. All right, everybody, go have fun, drink Kool-Aid, eat hamburgers, and if you see anybody who helped serve the country, give them a pat on the back. And I think somebody in the chat room was actually in World War One. So hello to Beppy.
The gorilla was. He almost killed the Kaiser himself. All right, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you all. What I just want to thank everybody. Do you have anybody you'd like to thank today before you go?
I do want to thank Promise. I've been on the same show that she has been on, Chaotic Truth, and just want to thank everyone out there for listening. But I'm getting kind of hot right now, so I do want to end the show. I'm getting kind of hot flashes. And
that's what happens when you're wrong. All right. Thank you again. See you all later. No, I don't think you're wrong about everything. I'm totally kidding, but
doesn't matter.
I can always have a good conversation with you. Go cool off. I'm going to go dive in the Tim pool as we
I'm going to go on Discord because people think that I'm completely wrong. All right, guys.
Tim pool monster.
Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Please like the show because YouTube gods love it. Thank you.
My mom would like to thank Beppy also.